Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And Lord willing, this would be, straight to the point. Some interesting things coming down the line here with this back and forth and this division, really the divided states of America. So this article, as you can see in the headline, it says Trump directs task force to counter rogue NGOs, leftist groups sowing chaos. And before I go into this, the interesting thing about what's going on here is that rogue NGOs, once again, I mentioned this in the previous lesson as to how they're able to pick a term or label or a very high level group. And it's more often you'll see that than you'll see a particular specific organization or people that they'll target. You know, not that they don't, but most of the time they target umbrella terms because then they can paint with a broad brush, and then they can link and connect to it. Okay, that's the whole point of an umbrella. So it says here, civil T is spreading like cancer across the nation, fueled by radical Democrats, left-wing extremist groups, and let's not forget dark money, billionaire-funded NGOs. And that extremist groups, right? Once again, it's done in a way where they basically make it mutable. So it can be the definition of it can change as they go. Right? What categorizes someone as an extremist or an extreme group? Oh, they have extreme views. That is a completely subjective term. What is extreme? Right? Is jumping off of a boat in the middle of the ocean extreme? Is jaywalking extreme? Is, I don't know, drinking 5 beers when you should have had one extreme? Extreme is different by different people. So when you say extreme, you're leaving wiggle room for ambiguity. And who's going to decide what extreme is? What's the standard of extreme? So they do that on purpose because then they can say, oh, well, yesterday street preaching was an extreme, but today it is. So you're an extremist. You see? And by not saying particularly, I don't know, like the KKK or, the Israelites or this specific group, it's easy for them they can go after any group they want. They just throw you under the label of an extremist group, and then you're fair game. But if they go specifically after one group, then they got to do another campaign as to why this next other group that they want to go after, or this other organization they want to go after, is they will be justified in doing so, and that's a lot more work. Okay. Because then people are going to be like, oh, you just like going after people. You just go after anybody that doesn't agree with you. Yes, they do, but they label it, strategically, so they're justified in it. Or at least they appear justified in it. So it says here, taken together, this toxic mix brought us a bloody September with a series of shocking events, from the TG shooter who stormed a church in Minneapolis to the furry-loving leftist with a TG boyfriend. Once again, there's that TG connection. Suspected in the political elimination of CK, to Wednesday's ICE attack in Texas by a far-left radical. So there goes the pattern. And now it's going to become a more and more noticeable thing. They're going to make it into a much bigger thing. And before you know it, it becomes like a whole battlefield out here, because that justifies the other side, or the federal government coming down with greater authority, greater wrath. These incidents have finally pushed the Trump administration to get very serious about radical leftist violence at a time when the Democratic Party and its allied NGOs have normalized assassination culture by calling everyone they disagree with fascists and Nazis. See that? So it's beyond just, two political parties. Oh, I was uh, a Democrat at one point, oh, you're a Republican. Yeah, you know, you guys do this, and then we do that, and you know, we don't agree because yada yada. Now it's like, oh, it's like you're the Bloods versus Crips. Like, yo, you're on the extreme other side, and you'll see just how quickly this can descend into chaos. The White House now understands that nuking U.S. aid um, and issuing executive orders won't entirely disrupt or dismantle the funding networks of the radicalist left groups, or the RLGs, and rogue nonprofits. What is emerging is a fully empowered intergovernmental task force, fully empowered. Keep that in mind. Something we pointed out was bound to form because at the highest levels of government, war has been declared on the leftist groups, quote unquote Marxists, sowing chaos and subverting the nation with one goal and one goal only: to collapse capitalism and implode the West. So either way it goes, there's gonna need to be chaos. Whether chaos in putting out chaos, okay, or chaos in just back and forth. But yeah, you gonna see this. You know, you're gonna see this, and it's gonna be different. On Thursday evening, the White House released a new presidential directive called Countering DT and Organized Political Violence. That includes a whole of government crackdown on domestic political violence, treating it as organized terrorism. This gives them a lot of power. Okay, you will see how they will use it. This is like the Patriot Act after 9/11. Okay, and they're gonna have authority over the internet, over social media, over who's posting, what they're posting, when they can post. They're gonna lock all that down, and when it's all said and done, um, the United States requires a national strategy to investigate and disrupt networks, entities, and organizations that foment political violence, so that law enforcement can intervene in criminal conspiracies before they result in violent political acts. And they're gonna have some more of these, you know, before they start, because something like this they have to implement with force, you know, and a force like that needs enough justification. Through this comprehensive strategy, law enforcement will disband and uproot networks, entities, and organizations that promote organized violence. Violent intimidation, conspiracies against rights, and other efforts to disrupt the functioning of a democratic society, President Trump wrote in the directive. So there's some sort of direction. There's a bit of, specific a little bit, but it's also written in a way where it leaves them room to add in what they need to add in, or say, well, this says this, and what it means is we can technically do that. It's just a matter of time. The directive states that a National Joint Terrorism Task Force, the JTTF, will be set up to coordinate and supervise a comprehensive national strategy to investigate, prosecute, and disrupt entities and individuals engaged in acts of political violence and intimidation designed to suppress lawful political activity or obstruct the rule of law. So Yahushua wasn't messing around when he mentioned nation being divided against nation, one people standing up against another. Yeah, you're gonna see that great divide. All right, but that's all I'm gonna read on here. You know, Lowell and YouTube will let me post the article and the link in the description, and then you can read some more on there. But actually, before I go, this is actually something I wanted to mention. So this part right here, right? It says, well, the Trump administration is up against, as explained by Civil T expert, is the alarming rise in far left militancy as nihilistic accelerationism. Nihilistic accelerationism. Now, go back. Let me see if I can find this.
Double honor to the apostles and.
Let's see where it is. I think it should have been on my channel here. But I did a video. It was a live stream that I did with my brother, and this was, damn, when was this? But we were going into this situation with Albert Pike, Giuseppe Mazzini, and Albert Pike, and right, we covered some very key parts in there on especially in the use of that word, the nihilism, right? Because they mention in there as part of their strategy, or maybe it was on the other Bakwarmoth channel. Let me check on here. They mentioned in there the strategy that they would use to bring chaos to the world. I think it was it this one? It might have been this one. Let me see. Yep, there we go. This is the one. So yeah, I would implore you to go and watch this video because we go into it, and in there there's mention in there that as part of the plan for the Third World War, right? It goes into the they're gonna unleash the nihilists. Let me see it. There it is, right? It says here, Third World War. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Z's and the leaders of Islamic world. You're seeing that happening now. Okay, you look all around you, read the news. The war must be, so it's orchestrated, like it's set up. They're pulling triggers to cause this war. And as you can see, it says the war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zism mutually destroy each other. So what do you, who in the Middle East, who's butting heads with who right now? That's not by coincidence. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. So when you start hearing terms like that, as they're talking about this divide, and they're using the T word,